Hello, my name is Justin Acker. I'm sitting down with Jonah Wallerstein, who made Kung Fu Kickball. Jonah, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Justin.
All right, so Jonah, your studio is WhaleFood Games. Can you tell us a little bit about your studio history? Anything you'd like to talk about with regards to that?
Sure thing. So my studio is just me. I have my official title as CEO, CTO, secretary, and janitor at my company. That's on my business card. And I started, it's actually been a while since I started, maybe like 7 years, but I haven't been full time doing indie development. I started off, I made a mobile game called Too Many Snakes. And this was while I was also working as a web developer. But, making indie games was, it's a typical, like, always been my dream, So I kind of managed to do that as well as doing web work to actually make money. So I did that, got Too Many Snakes out there in like 2013 or 2014, something. Didn't really do anything. Then had some other kind of failed projects along the way. And then maybe about 3 or 4 years ago, I had the idea for Kung Fu Kickball.
So let's talk a little bit about Kung Fu Kickball as a game. Kung Fu Kickball, really like fascinating game. Great multiplayer sort of sports game with some fantastic elements. Can you talk a little bit about how you conceptualized the idea, and if there was anything that were particular inspirations for this project?
Sure. So there were first the goal with the project is I wanted to make something that was kind of fun to play with friends. I'd been starting to go to some game conventions and I saw how fun it was to for people to be gathering around game and kind of yelling and cheering. So then I took two big inspirations from Smash Brothers, which was a game I played a lot in college with my friends, and then more recently I had been playing Rocket League, and I kind of loved how kind of goofy the game was, just because of like the physics and stuff. Like there wasn't anything like within the game that was necessarily funny and goofy, but how it played was goofy. So I kind of wanted to kind of use some of that. So I basically just combined those two to make Kung Fu Kickball.
Yeah, that's awesome. How did you? What made you decide on the sort of temple aesthetic? Like, how did that come about?
So I knew I needed like a theme that was recognizable, um, and then I also, really loved kung fu movies. So I was just like had in my mind like, okay, I want that feeling of like weightlessness and flying through the air like in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and I thought that could be cool with like hitting a ball around and stuff. So I was like specifically imagining that bamboo scene in the movie. So I actually have a bamboo level in my game where you can jump off the bamboo stalks and stuff. Um, so yeah, that was really where I got the theme from, and uh, and then just it kind of fit. And from there, I kind of came up with the characters and they kind of fit within a kung fu movie aesthetic.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that old wirework stuff. It's so cool. So, yeah, great aesthetic. Love the idea of the giant bell as the goal too. Are you interested at all in talking about the development process? Were there any like unforeseen challenges? Any like interesting hacks? I feel like making indie games is always kind of you feel like your concept is like, oh, I should definitely be able to do this. But once you actually get into the nitty gritty, there's always some unforeseen stuff in there.
Oh yeah, there was definitely a lot. I think the two biggest challenges with this game were the net code because I knew because it's originally conceived as just being like a PC console game, so I knew I needed online play for it to have any kind of chance in the marketplace, and then the AI was the other big challenge. Um, so the net code just involved like I knew I needed to think about that from the very start because like if you try and shove netcode into a game that wasn't built from that from the start, it's super challenging. So the best thing to do is like from the start figure out what that it's going to be a netcode game and start coding for that. And then from the start I was like, okay, I want to keep it simple. Like I know I need the netcode, but everything else like I want to pare it down as much as possible because I need to get this done as a one man team. But then looking at other games, I figured, okay, maybe I should try and do AI. Like I knew it was going to be really challenging because the AI has to know. not only like to go after the ball, but to be able to like hit it in a way where it goes to the bell. Like, okay, there's no way I can like code a custom AI for this game. Uh, but luckily, recently, Unity, which is the engine this game is written in, they've released an open source machine learning plugin for the engine. So I was like, okay, maybe I'll give this a shot. See if I can just have the computer train on its own, learn the game on its own. Uh, and that was months of work, but I did get it to work. It took a while, but like I was able to get it to train to play my game better than me. I have yet to like defeat all the grandmaster level of AI in my game.
Yeah, definitely the AI is super competent, and I know that that's like a huge like a huge hurdle for even for AAA studios. Like that's like a big thing. So for one person, that's really cool that you were able to find a sort of way to do that. Can we talk a bit about the cab? What made you decide, like, how did you come to decide that you were going to have a physical arcade cabinet for Kung Fu Kickball?
So I knew it was a made to be like a social game, right? So I thought, and I had been to Death Audio events before. This is like before Wonderville, so I knew about this like uh, arcade game community in New York, and I was really fascinated by it. And so I thought like, oh, my game would be perfect for that. And so at one point they had a like uh, it was basically just like a little show where they invited indie games that might work well on cabinets to show to an audience. And so I definitely applied to that and showed my game there. And then like didn't hear anything for a while. And then like a few months later, right before MagFest of I think it was like 2018 or something, uh, I got an email from Mark, and he's like, "Hey, I've got a proposition for you." I'm like, "Okay, what's up?" And he's like, "We want to make a cabinet of Kung Fu Kickball," and I was like, "Hell yeah!" So that was just like amazing to hear that. And so the idea was that they would build this cabinet at MagFest. Uh, so Kyle, who they were working with, I think he's from Philadelphia, was going to come in and bring some parts. They were going to bring other parts. Then it was all going to go together at this panel at MagFest. And it was incredible. I was just sitting, it all happened. I was on the panel with other Death Audio people and just watching them put together the machine right in front of me, which was really amazing. Um,
That's awesome. So you get to see your game basically made physical, like made manifest live, like at
that's right.
Magfest. That's so cool.
Yeah, it's so cool. And it's so great that I have the cabinet now. So like future Magfests, like even if I don't get into the indie game area, like the cabinet's gonna be there. My game is gonna stick around. Just having the cabinet just like gives this its whole other life. Because it becomes this physical object. And like so many indie games, they come out digitally, and even if they're somewhat successful, they're kind of forgotten after a year or two. And to have a cabinet that kind of sticks around is just so amazing because like it gives extra life to the game. Oh, and there's actually another fun story. Is part of how the publishing deal worked is I got into PAX East one year and decided to rent a van and haul the arcade machine up to PAX. So I had the arcade machine at my PAX booth, and that definitely attracted a bigger crowd, which I think got actually multiple publishers interested in the game. So another benefit of the arcade cabinet.
I think we kind of covered sort of your relationship with DBAA and your relationship with Wonderville, but is there anything in particular you'd like to say about the organization or any feelings you might have on that?
Um, Nothing more than they're awesome, and I'm Wonderville. Just they've had great events. I really love the space. It's great that they're giving indies a chance to show their games in this different format, and it's not only limited to obviously they can't make that many machines, but they also have like rotating area where they have like, bring in other guest indies and stuff to show their games, which is really cool. Obviously, it'll be great once the pandemic's over and they can start doing real events again and play tests and bands and it's just a really unique space in Brooklyn. You know, we have other arcade bars, but they're not for indies. Like to have this very unique space to show off indie arcade games is just really amazing and just pretty uncommon. So yeah, hoping to stick around.
Yeah, us too. Hey, we didn't talk about this before the interview, but I don't know what you're if there's anything you're currently working on, anything you want to plug. I want to give you time to do that. So I don't know if there's anything.
You know, Kung Fu Kickball is still in development for PC and console. So I do want to plug, wishlist it on Steam and look out for it on console. Probably, definitely first half of next year. Right now, it's in the hands of the publisher, so I'm working with this publisher, Blowfish Studios, and they're kind of going in and fine tuning the netcode and porting it to all the different platforms. So hopefully like next year it'll be releasing on Steam, PS4, Switch, and Xbox One. So yeah, look forward to that. Oh, and find me on Twitter at WhaleFood Games.
Well, Jonah, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you sitting down and talking with us, and looking forward to the Kung Fu Kickball official release. It's on my wish list, and it'll be in my library the second it comes out. So,
Actually,
yep, thank you so much for that, and yeah, have a great day.
you too. Thank you, Justin.